We're on problem number 4 in the Venn diagrams practice packet, and in problem number 4 you have a 3-circle Venn diagram, so you have lots of overlaps, so this can get really confusing. So it's important to really understand what each part of these circles represent. So I'm just going to go over kind of how to think about each circle and what it represents. So we have 100 adults. I'm going to begin with the whole idea. There's 100 people involved here. And they were asked whether they studied French, Spanish, or Japanese in school. And realized that some people could have studied both, or all three, or even none of those languages. And so I have to keep in mind how these circles are represented. So if we think of this part here, French, these would be people that just studied French. So this is French only. And here we have Spanish only over here, 32, and we have Japanese only, these 9. And then you begin to look at overlaps where you have some that studied French and Japanese, which would be actually all of these here, French and Japanese. Spanish and Japanese, all of these here, these 7 and these 4, French and Japanese. Spanish and French, all 24 in this part where there's overlap. And then in the very center you have these 4 people that studied all 3. And so as you answer questions for this, you need to remember how these overlaps work and what they represent, and where there's exclusions versus inclusions in Venn diagrams. Overlaps are both, and when you're outside of those overlaps, you're into neither. So now we can hopefully use this to answer some questions related to that. So if we look at the first question and we say, how many studied Spanish? And you have to look at this entire circle because everyone in this circle studied Spanish. Not just these 32. These people studied Spanish only, but then these people studied Spanish, these 7, these 4, these 20, and these 32, all of them studied Spanish. So to find the number that studied Spanish, I need to add all those together, the 20 plus the 4 plus the 7 plus the 32. All of these people studied Spanish, which would give us a total of 63 that studied Spanish. To answer that question, all of the people in the circle studied Spanish. Even though they studied other things too, there's overlap. They all studied Spanish. And then we look at the next one, how many studied French? So again, all of the people in this circle, the 23, the 5, the 4, and the 20, all of these together. So we're going to put those together, 23 plus 20 plus 4 plus the 5 gives a total of 52 that studied French. And then the question C is how many studied Japanese? So again, one more time, all of the people in this circle, the 9, the 5, the 4, and the 7, all studied Japanese. So I have to put all those together, 9 and 5 and 4 and 7 give me the 39 that studied Japanese. So again, all of these studied Japanese, all of these people studied French, all of these people studied Spanish. So now we're going to get into the sort of exclusion questions. So some of the numbers are going to get excluded. So the next question is, how many studied Spanish but not French? So when we think of Spanish, so we look at these people studied Spanish but not French. These people studied Spanish but not French. These people studied Spanish and French, and so did these. So these are not included. Only these 32 and these 7 studied Spanish, but not French. So we want to not include those because they are included in the French part. So we just have the 32 plus the 7. So 32 plus 7 give us the number that studied Spanish but not French, and that's 39 altogether. Now, how many studied Japanese but not French? So again, we're taking an exclusionary. We're going to exclude some things. The Japanese but not French. So go up here. So these people studied Japanese and not French. These people studied Japanese and not French, but anything in here includes people that studied French. So these 5 and 4 are excluded. So these 9 and these 7 are the ones that studied Japanese and not French. So I have the 9 plus the 7, which give me 16 that studied Japanese but not French. Don't include the part in that overlap. Now, the next one has an and statement in it. And usually means that it has to fit both. So now we're taking the French and Spanish. So we have to look at the ones that took French and Spanish. Well, these 20 took French and Spanish, and so did these 4. And even though these 4 also took Japanese, it doesn't matter because the question is simply French and Spanish. And these people did take French and Spanish, and so did these. These 20 and these 4 took French and Spanish. So we put those together. That's that overlap between those two circles. So the 20 plus the 4 gives me the 24 that took French and Spanish. Now the next question changes things because instead of an and, it's an or. And or, we've kind of done this when you do probability, we've learned that or means more. And there's always more with an or because an or, a lot of things can happen. So if we say French or Spanish, there's a whole bunch of things that are true. So all these people studied French. All these people studied French or Spanish, or both in this case, French or Spanish, French or Spanish, in this case Spanish, these 32, these 7, Spanish, these 4, French or Spanish works because they actually studied both, these 5. So really it's everybody except these 9 studied French or Spanish. All of these studied French, all of these studied Spanish. So French or Spanish, we have lots of possibilities. The exclusion is these 9. And so if we start adding up all of those other parts, we could take all the individual parts. We could go, I'm going to put them all in here just so you can see how it works. 23 plus 5 plus 4. I'm taking all the little parts of all the circles. Plus 20 plus 7 plus 32. So we have all of these 23 plus 20 plus 5 plus 4 plus 7 plus 32. I took all of those individual parts and put them together, and that equals a total of 91 that studied French or Spanish. Now, I could have kind of taken a shortcut because if I remember back to the beginning, there was 100 adults that were surveyed. And if you think about it, only 9 of them did not study French or Spanish, so I could have probably saved myself a little work if I just remembered that I have 100 in the group and I take away the 9 that are in just the Japanese, and that gives me the 91 that way as well. So either way I would have found that 91 studied French or Spanish. Now the last one, how many studied French and Spanish but not Japanese? So now we've got a French and Spanish, so let's look at that first. So the people in this part here studied French and Spanish. So we have French and Spanish there, French and Spanish here. But the problem is that the people in this center part also studied Japanese, and the question is French and Spanish but not Japanese. And so that would exclude these 4, and the only thing left are these 20 that studied French and Spanish, but not Japanese. So these people are the only ones that are included in that part. So the last question is just those 20 in that one section that studied French and Spanish, but not Japanese. And so that's an exclusionary statement, so we exclude those 4. And we just have the 20 that studied both French and Spanish. So you can see a 3-circle diagram is a little more complicated. There are more things to think about, but again, understanding that each circle represents a group and there are overlaps between the groups, and understanding how those overlaps work will make Venn diagrams much easier for you to solve.